So, is this the rate cut dump? Is this also Ghost/Blood Month speculation? Ooh, maybe. Now, for some reason, we've got headlines about Ghost Month and Blood Month screaming, oh my god, this is a dump. But I don't agree with that. Obviously, we've had a little bit of a spook. We've had a bit of a rate cut kind of situation. We've had a lot of liquidations over the last 24 hours. But technically, I am still pretty bullish here, and I'm going to explain why in this video. And I just need 10 minutes of your time to prove it. So we're going to go through the narrative trap. We're going to go through my overall analysis and also the dollar cost average challenge I've been buying this morning. So make sure you don't miss that. And also, I want to talk about the rotation map. Where are we on that journey? If you like rules over drama, please do tap that like button. And yeah, subscribe for more. I'm going to be focusing a lot more on Bitcoin in the next couple of months because I think that is going to be very, very key to where the altcoins go. Hi, everyone. I'm up here now. I'm just changing my camera just to make it look a bit neater and tidier. Anyways, let's talk about the obvious in the room. Now, I know this is an old article. Bear with me, but I opened X this morning and it was just full of like Ghost Month, Blood Month. Ooh. It's all psychological. It's all literally psychology. This is unbelievably horrible to think about. Now, I know people are like, oh, but this is the thing, but it's seasonality. It's confirmation bias. It makes people sell strength and actually, hopefully, fingers crossed, buy into weakness, which does catch people out for obvious reasons, right? Now, we could talk about a lot of this stuff, and obviously, yeah, this is all old information, old data, but this situation around Ghost Month, now, as much as it is mental, the Ghost Month runs between these time periods. Obviously, today is the 22nd of September. It started looking a bit ropey over the weekend. But overall, yes, it is a seasonality thing. There's very, very few periods where we've actually got a plus there. One, actually, in fact. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. It's already happened. It's done. It's gone. And there's also Blood Month, which obviously something a little bit different, which I don't quite understand. But yeah, the Chinese element to this is always important. But yeah, for me, in my opinion, I wouldn't worry too much about it. We can talk even more about the worry of rate cuts. The rate cut paradox, the first cuts often create the messy sell signals. Buy the rumor, sell the news. Obviously, the S&P, the NASDAQ, the Russell 2000 were all running up. Gold was doing well. Bitcoin was slowly starting to trigger up, but nothing really crazy. But for me, I think this is just a simple liquidation event that will eventually unravel back to normal, and we go again very, very soon. So just kind of keep your pants on, so to speak, right? Another thing we need to talk about is obviously this. As I just alluded to it, the liquidations, the biggest long liquidation of 2025. 5 things to know about this week, right? So we've actually suffered a 1 billion plus liquidation, which is fine. It's happened a few times over the course of the last couple of months. And that's the situation. This dip has created one of the biggest over the course of a time period in 2025. The Federal Reserve and Jerome Powell still on traders' radars with fresh inflation data due. And obviously you got all this kind of situation as well, and not to mention pre-euphoric hints of an upcoming bull market top. Where are we? Well, that's the thing. So the situation you need to keep yourself in check with, and I think you should write this down, rules. Narratives are context only, okay? Decisions come from the signals on the charts only. Realistically, let's be honest here. So yeah, narratives are not very good because people fall into them, they create emotion. So let's look at the charts. How squeaky clean does this chart look, by the way? Now, if you watched my last video, you would have known the importance of that level. Both of them, actually. So I talked about we need to get above this level. And I even said it is far too early to get a gauge until we break above it and flip it. And you can go back and watch it if you want. But we're back in this box again. And you can see the previous all-time high. You can see that we've got a hidden bearish divergence in the RSI as well. Not looking ideal, is it? No. And I will be talking more at length on my Patreon about this in more detail, so feel free to jump in. There is a link below to this, by the way, but as you can imagine, it's cheap as fuck. I will be closing it very soon. It is now 4 videos and 1 live a week. Yeah, I've got more time on my hands now. The baby's running around a bit more, so it's a bit easier. So yeah, get in for more content. Anyways, my biggest concern is obviously the key levels, the juicy levels. And yeah, I use a higher time frame. I know people are going, oh, this is really boring, but ultimately we've got to respect them. $111,000 in around this region is probably the next area of interest for me. If we lose that, but as I say, stay around because I'm going to showcase what I've been doing with my dollar cost average challenge, because I think that's very, very important to look at. The reality is, right, and this is what's going to hurt people's feelings. I think too many people are expecting the obvious in the room here, which is a bull market, right? Now, there's two situations to this. Yes, there's a bull market, probably incoming Q4, awesome. Now, for obvious reasons, yes, we can look at what happens here. We've already talked about it. We've already seen the data, the information. Yes, Q4 is often bullish. But we've got two sides of the coin here. We've got a coin where it is just Bitcoin only in a couple of select few, and it really hurt people's feelings, or liquidity gets driven into this market. Now, overall, Bitcoin has corrected a little bit and altcoins have really perished today. Underneath my face, you can see a lot of altcoins are down a lot today. That would indicate where are we in the market? Well, two things are wrong here. One thing, Bitcoin dominance has surged to the upside a little bit here. Nothing crazy, but it's enough to go, okay, hello, what you doing? Again, we could talk about the stable currency dominances and stuff. I know this is new, but I won't look at that one actually. We'll look at this one because this is my main one. This is starting to rally up. We need this to go into the 5% levels to get comfortable. If it goes below 5% and gets really, really, really exciting, I think people get a bit more, excited about it. But ultimately, let's talk about Bitcoin again. In terms of where we are, right, that's awesome. But if you watch any of my content, I've been talking a lot about how we're just going to repeat what happened last year, which is this. Kind of like just a bit boring. Now, you could argue, right? Sorry, I'm just going to say it. We are near enough in and around where this level is. So obviously we are the 22nd of September right now. We had this cataclysmic drop. Now I'm going to say it. I know it sounds really, really horrible to say cataclysmic, but in the time period, right? Let's talk about it. When we talk about previous corrections, I've just opened an app for no reason. Bear with me. There we go. So when we talk about previous corrections, this here, boom, it's a 10% move in literally 3 days, give or take. 1 day, one candle, 3 days, 3-day time frame, obviously, right? So that's important. That's a big, big, juicy drop. Now, I know we can talk about a number of things here, but ultimately, we could argue, yes, the same sort of situation where we're in this kind of lull of doing nothing and just correcting. And we could be arguing, yeah, we could be looking at an obvious situation where we're just doing a retest of the support, which is probably all right. And again, we could talk about what level of correction is this? Well, it's actually quite juicy, but nowhere near enough to get kind of excited. It's a 5% correction. Obviously, the numbers on the right-hand side are much, much, much bigger, so they're going to weigh a little bit differently in percentages. So just be mindful of the panic. There is no panic in my viewpoint, so just be mindful of it, that you're not going to get blown up by just being stupidly weak mentality-wise and your psychological bearings have been battered. But let's not plan too far ahead. Let's just stick to the obvious. That level is king. If we go lower than that, we can look at a bit more juicier levels and we'll look at further updates. So please make sure you subscribe for more. Anyways, let's talk about what I was kind of alluded to in the last video. I was saying, risk on, is it coming? Woohoo. Potentially still yes, but we need to kind of unravel a little bit. And as I've said before, this was a pretty big liquidation event. Look at the spread. The fact that over a 24-hour period, we've got 1.59 billion and only 83 million short. That is by far one of the biggest, I think it is the biggest of 2025. So yeah, late piggies have been slaughtered, and that kind of comes to the narrative. That comes down to the situation that we all have and we all find ourselves in. And I know it sounds really noddy and I know it upsets people, but people who come in with the expectation to get in money quickly in this market will often get beaten down very quickly. So let's talk about the rotation of it, right? Everything's looking shit in terms of altcoins. Ethereum.d is really dropping. This is a Q4 thingy. Hello, keep an eye on it. We are back at the EMA 21 on the dominance side of Ethereum. Obviously, as I've alluded to it, Bitcoin is still looking to probably retest these levels and probably go a bit higher. I don't agree fully with what Ben Cohen's kind of talking about in terms of we're going to get a massive, massive, horrible surge on the Bitcoin dominance. Unless it's just Bitcoin only, then I'm all for it. But I just can't see altcoins going lower than the previous lows, if that makes sense. I know that's probably, maybe a bit of hope even from myself, but I find it very unlikely we're going to get to those lows again. That would mean Ethereum will collapse and probably XRP will drop off a cliff as well. Maybe Solana and probably Hype as well. So it doesn't look likely. But when we talk about the total three, minus stable currency, well, Tether in the BTC pair, we are still in this sort of trend. And as I say, it's still looking not too bad as it stands. So, yeah, my viewpoint, my overall viewpoint around this, opportunity. I think there's an opportunity here to get some potential orders in if you've not yet done so, because we're still, in my viewpoint, looking at all these charts in said buy zones and we've not really missed the boat. I know people are hyped up about Hype and Esther and all these kind of stuff going around, and like people are like, oh my God, there's gains on the table. But realistically, we haven't really had that mania season yet, so try not to kind of get your knickers in a twist realistically. So we are still getting that situation. We're still looking all right. And as I said before, we could talk about this in terms of the obvious in the room. This is still in a downtrend. It's just bouncing. Obviously, Bitcoin will breathe more than others, and altcoins will die pretty quickly if Bitcoin has a bit of a wobble. Now, in terms of the dollar cost average challenge, now if you're following along on Patreon or even just on the channel, I've been doing a dollar cost average for like almost a year now. We've got $22,000 in account. We have Solana in there, which I've only just started buying about 2-3 months ago. So there's not much in there, but I bought this morning, just a little bit. I also bought a decent chunk of Link this morning to add to the bag. Again, I've only added a couple of weeks ago. So I've got Bitcoin, I have Solana, I have Chainlink, and I have a couple of runes. Nothing crazy. And we're going to just play with it and have a bit of fun. I am up about 41% in the entire portfolio. Even though runes have done terrible, I'm actually up quite well. Stick around, as I say, to follow along in random videos. But the reason why I bought this morning was just because I feel like this is a decent price zone considering where it's been. It could obviously go lower. And my viewpoint is I think the likes of Chainlink, the Solanas in the world, obviously Ethereum, probably argue Cardano, whatever, insert coin here, we're in the top 25, will probably in a proper euphoric cycle, we'll probably do 2, 3, 4 X's from here. They're the obvious in the room, the obvious, right? Because I can't see that the liquidity isn't, it's going to flow into those for obvious reasons. It just is. Whereas, yes, further down the chain, you may get the odd one that'll pop off like a rocket. It's all about the money. It's all about where does the money go. With the ETF narrative and more people looking more at that, and obviously more and more availability on coins, it just makes obvious sense. And yeah, I'm not the biggest Chainlink bull in the world, but I look at $20 as potential decent-ish value compared to where it's been in the past. And we're talking like even not too long ago, we're at $30 and we've had a shitty time period over the course of time with the altcoins. We could talk about the previous cycle all the way up here. Could go even further. It just depends on where the narrative is. Likewise, with the likes of Ethereum, we could talk about how Ethereum is all the way back down here, which is what we kind of somewhat alluded to and expected around this area. It could be interesting. We could go into some much juicier levels. It still hasn't broken properly, in my viewpoint, that all-time high. We haven't had that clear sky breakout. So yeah, if you want to follow along, please do. You don't have to, but if you're interested, that portfolio over the course of 5 years, hopefully, will be pretty chunky. If you're looking for a place to buy some cryptocurrency right now, Blowfin is open if you're in the UK. It has really good offers on, good fees, sometimes free spot fees as well if you use my link below, and you get 20% back on your fees as well, which is pretty important. So yeah, the narratives are great for views and potentially even better for entries if you've got the right rules. So make sure you take an opportunity to look at them said levels and, have a little look and see what's on offer. Watch this, by the way. Might help you with a couple of things.